at least some of them. But more importantly, whether they are all returned or not, what is most important is the ownership. That these works don't belong to the people who are currently holding them. That these works belong to Edo people. And since Edo is now part of Nigeria, these works should come back to Nigeria.
First, the works, the artifacts, do not belong to us. It belongs to the Oba of Benin. First, I want you people to see the mind game that he's playing with you people. He's making you to believe that Emina Duvio Ori Maya Eno. So we all have the same equal right to Emina Duvio. It's a mind game. It's a mind game. He's smart. He's a strategist.
And they burned down the whole empire, Benin City in particular. They came in for almost 2 weeks. They were bombing the place. Everybody ran away to the villages. They went round the entire city. From house to house, they were collecting different things they saw. All our emblems, what we now call artifacts. Each family in Benin, for instance, everybody has a gure. I mean, yes. Some of them ivory, some of them. If you go to the collections, you have almost 40 or 50 gures in that collection. These people gathered it. Plus all these beautiful bronze works from different families and the palace. They took all of those things, they took it to Europe to sell.
Isiak Badawunu tai. Imasa meyunu. Isiak Badawunu tai. Where Godwin or evidence to show and prove where any art item, any of those items were removed from any other place, even if it fell on the street, any other place other than the palace. We not do the my man. The Obaseki house, Amakwelao, Ogiami house, Amalao. Iduigun, Nana Duwe, Amalao. The only place they went to was the palace and burnt it down. How many people could, even at that time, have OTV doing gun, na sinye yama? How many chiefs? Not to talk of ordinary people. No, na me such art items go wa or total or when na sinye yama or you can't do gyopa na do say yama. How many people could do it? Yeah, with this bronze thing, yeah, I call it I might with a boy. So he has siak but there will no dolotai where Emi ya fe na vioe egwa mono ba ne doku apolo oba ovora me no gbaisi wupo 1897 e ana vioe bi ari gien eno mudia ne luga ya fe ana sile ya la dia e foto okpaga aro no me ne bona mudia yo dawo werai ne bona mudia yo dawo we rotion e ero so Then we have VOA. You know VOA Latien. You know VOA Latien.
Thanks for clicking on this channel. Please subscribe to FO's blog history and click on the notification button so that whenever we upload a new video you will be notified. It was the entire Benin that was looted during the 1897 invasion and not the palace alone. Thousands of artifacts couldn't have been looted from the palace alone, says Godwin Obaseki. In December 2022, Godwin Obaseki led delegates from the German government to inspect the site for the proposed Edo Museum of West African Arts, EMOA. Obaseki, while conducting the German Minister of State for Culture and the Media, BKM, Claudia Roth, on a guided tour of the project site in Benin City, said the museum will attract tourists from far and near to view Benin artifacts and have an experience of the history and rich cultural heritage of the Edo people. He said the German government has declared interest in returning all looted artifacts in its custody and assured the Edo state government of its continued support towards the realization of the EMOA project. For us at FO's blog, the purpose of Obaseki building Emoa, which he now changed to Moa, was to house the returned Benin artifacts. But Obaseki has changed everything now and said the purpose of building Moa was not to house the returned Benin artifacts. Obaseki said, "We are glad that we serve as catalysts to make this happen." A few years before I came into office, the discussion was on, but we realized it was not going to go anywhere until the Edo state government stepped in, and it was the intervention of the state government that facilitated the return of these works and the increased conversations about the returns. This conversation about restitution and return of these works has been going on for almost 2 years. It is part of our duty to first return these artifacts to where they belong, but more importantly, whether they are all returned or not, what is most important is the ownership, that these works don't belong to the people who are currently holding them, but to the Edo people, and as part of Nigeria, they should come back to Nigeria. Noting that the Germans were the first to agree to return the looted artifacts, Obaseki commended the German government for its continued partnership with the Edo state government. He said that the Emoa project, on completion, will serve as a facility to bridge the gap in the history and knowledge of the Edo people. Please watch the video and listen to him.
This conversation has been on for almost a year and a half. The conversation, in fact 2 years, the conversation about restitution and the returns of these works. I am very excited and very glad because it's people may not understand the implication and impact and importance of what we're doing now. In years to come, they will hopefully Edo people and Nigerians will come to appreciate that we took the right decision. First, to put pressure on those who are currently holding prized pieces of artifacts, that these works actually belong to us, that these works were forcibly taken away from this city, and there was a lot of destruction and carnage that went with it. And at the minimum, as part of that healing, part of that reconnection, should involve first returning these works to where they belong, at least some of them. But more importantly, whether they are all returned or not, what is most important is the ownership, that these works don't belong to the people who are currently holding them, that these works belong to Edo people, and since Edo is now part of Nigeria, these works should come back to Nigeria. The Germans were the first to accept the argument, to buy into this line of thought, and for them, because of they have a conscience and they are dealing with the issues of colonialism and the way they treated some of their colonies, and that has sparked public debates in Germany and ethical and moral debates, which we were glad that we were able to extend that debate to the issue of restitution and returns of work. So there's quite a lot of German support from not just the central government, the federal government of Germany, but also some of the regional governments who were keeping some of these works in their museums.
Mr. Izadawa debunked Obaseki's claim that the artifacts belong to the Edo people, not the palace. He said Obaseki is good at mind games, meaning he is good at manipulating people for his own advantage. He was saying that the artifacts stolen by the British in 1897 invasion belong to the Edo people, hence everybody has equal right to the artifacts. I keep saying the artifacts do not belong to us, but they belong to the Oba of Benin precisely. Obaseki is playing a mind game, he stated. Please listen to Izadawa as he explains.
I want to play a video because I don't want people to say I'm reading meanings to where meanings are not. I want us to listen attentively because I pay attention to details. I want us to listen very attentively. I want us to hear from the horse's mouth. So I want us to hear, listen attentively. I just want you people to understand some certain things that you didn't understand while you were listening to these videos and you were clapping. I just want to open your mind. I want you to open your mind and listen. If not ta, I just want you to listen attentively to what he has to say.
And how Edo people will benefit from their return.
This conversation has been on for almost a year and a half. The conversation, in fact 2 years, the conversation about restitution and the returns of these works. I am very excited and very glad because it's people may not understand the implication and impact and importance of what we're doing now. Years to come, they will hopefully Edo people and Nigerians will come to appreciate that we took the right decision. First, to put pressure on those who are currently holding prized pieces of artifacts, that these works actually belong to us. That these works.
First, the works, the artifacts, do not belong to us. It belongs to the Oba of Benin. First, I want you people to see the mind game that he's playing with you people. He's making you to believe that Emina Duvio Ori Maya Eno. So we all have the same equal right to Emina Duvio. It's a mind game. It's a mind game. He's smart. He's a strategist. I keep telling you people, it's a mind game. The artifact does not belong to us. I keep saying it. Does not belong to Edo people. It belongs to the Oba of Benin. Precision. It has to be precise. Ownership. 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 It's not us. The artifact does not belong to Edo people. It belongs to the Oba of Benin. Precision. He's playing with you people. He probably did psychology. He's playing with your mind. If he gives the ownership to you, to everybody, it gives him a legitimate right to not be the custodian. That is why he's playing. Do not fall for that. The artifact do not belong to us. Do not belong to Edo people. It belongs to the Oba of Benin. We have to put these things in right perspective. None of these artifacts were taken from any other places except the palace of the Oba of Benin. And the people who created these artifacts were created by the Oba of Benin. Obaseki was a bronze caster. Obaseki Ogwasi Seomo was a bronze caster. What belongs to one person, he's trying to not make us feel that Mayanya. So the ownership in all of these things, all of the videos he has been doing in the past few days, have you seen or heard him mention Oba of Benin? Have you heard him mention the palace of the Oba of Benin? No. He's doing it intentional. He's making the world feel that this thing does not belong to one person. It belongs to everybody. He's trying to take the relevance from the Oba of Benin so that we all can feel that Makokonya, Wanya, Era Seon Oropa. Abi USL. My father never owned any artifact. Neither my mother. So how would I not claim that the artifact belongs to me? Yes, if it belongs to the Oba, it belongs to everybody. But the ownership has to be very precise. Do not fall for his mind games. He's manipulating us. That is what he's good at. He's manipulating us. That is what he's good at. wadane yo o mi so no ta ni aye guan kan.
Possibly taken away from this city, and there was a lot of destruction.
He said forcibly taken from the city. Where? Ask him. He said forcibly taken from the city. He said it. Where in the city that these artifacts were taken? Ask him. Were any of the artifacts taken from Obaseki's compound, our Obaseki's compound? Ask him. These artifacts were not taken from the streets, from the city of Benin. They were taken from the palace. There are photographs that shows where all those Benin artifacts, where was that picture taken? Was it on the streets of Benin? No, it was taken inside the palace, because that is where the treasure was stolen from. None was taken from streets of Benin. They were all taken from the palace of the Oba of Benin. He's telling you it was taken from the city. He's smart. He knows how to use words. He knows why he's saying what he's saying.
Went with it, and at the minimum, just part of that healing, part of that revelation, should involve first returning these works to where they belong, at least some of them. But more importantly, whether they are all returned or not, what is most important is the ownership, that these works don't belong to the people who are currently holding them.
Look at what he said. He said, what is most important? He said, whether they are returned or not. That is what he said. Whether they are returned or not. He said, that is not important. He said, what is important is who own it. And when he now said, who own it, he now said, Edo people. Listen to what he said again.
First, returning these works to where they belong, at least some of them. But more importantly, whether they are all returned or not, what is most important is the ownership, that these works don't belong to the people who are currently holding them, that these works belong to Edo people, and that since Edo is now part of Nigeria, these works should come back to Nigeria. The Germans were the first to accept the argument, to buy into this line of thought, and for them, because they have a conscience and they are dealing with the issues of colonialism and the way they treated the colonies, and that has sparked public debates in Germany, ethical and moral debates. We're glad that we were able to extend that debate to the issue of restitution and returns of work. So there's quite a lot of German support from not just the central government, the federal government of Germany, but also some of the regional governments who were keeping some of these works in their museums. For us as a state, we are glad that we've been able to serve as a catalyst to make this happen. Before I came into office, about 12 or so years before I came into office, the conversations had been on, discussions had been on, but we realized that it was not going to go anywhere except the Edo State government stepped in, and it was the intervention of the Edo State government that facilitated the returns of these works and the
What he said just now, is that they have been clamoring for the return of Benin artifact. He did agree. But it was not going anywhere. So that means he's saying that all the clamoring that Oba Akenzo II clamored for was nonsense. It didn't go anywhere. All the clamoring that Obaide of blessed memory clamored for, most especially during the Benin centenary in 1997, was nonsense. It had no water. It was holding no weight. All the clamoring that Obaiwa, even when he was a Daiken, clamored for the return of these artifacts, they were nonsense. Till he came on board. That is insulting not just the present monarch, but the past two monarchs. And the effort of you and I, who have also been fighting for the return of this artifact. Or even in my benign sins, nonsense in all, that it has no headway until he came on board. And thereby, inherently, yes, inherently.
Increased conversations around the return. So for us, we've just said as a catalyst, how are we going to benefit from it? Like you heard from the presentation, it's not the works in themselves. It is the whole ecosystem that we will be creating first. There's so much we don't know because of that disconnection of what happened, how we used to live, how we used to deal with our environment. We need knowledge, we need research. And these pieces coming back serve as a point, a contact point, to begin the work, research work, as to who we are as a people. And we don't, never again are we going to sit and allow outsiders to tell us about our history.
Now, he said, never again would we allow outsiders to tell our history. The Emowa project, who are the people in charge of it? I don't know outsiders. Will we do association or who with the Emowa project? Even the girl who spoke, I will take it back. Is she an Edo person? The girl who did the presentation of the Emowa project, is she an Edo person? The girl who spoke, most of the people, the chairman or so of Igbo, any outsider, any outsiders. The area those ones Walile, who are now a chairman of the Emowa committee or the Emowa trust fund. Who are was Walile, obvious, Okano one Waroy. Then he's giving the juicy to outsiders, and now he's complaining that never again will we allow foreigners and outsiders tell our story, while all the juicy positions in Edo State is being given to the same outsiders.
Explain to us who we are and what our objects mean to us. So by bringing them in, having this sort of facility, will the research that will be undertaken by us and local people will now locally contextualized for us to make meaning. Secondly, it will serve as a stimulation because Edo people are still very creative. So the same people who created these world-class pieces 500 years ago, it's the same blood that flows in their veins today. Many of them are expressing themselves in different art forms.
Now, all of the words he has mentioned since, have you ever said he mentioned the Oba of Benin or the palace? He said the people who made those beautiful artifacts, they are still there. The people he has never supported with 1 million naira or 500,000. For almost 6 years, he has been the governor.
Recently, Godwin Obaseki said it was not only the palace that the British looted the Benin artifacts from, but also individual houses. He said it was the entire Benin that was looted during the 1897 invasion and not the palace alone. Thousands of artifacts couldn't have been looted from the palace alone. Please listen to Obaseki.
In about more than 100 years ago, in 1897, when the British was trying to gather territories, they had subjugated all the other tribes in Nigeria, except the Benin Kingdom. When they could not subjugate the Benin Kingdom, in 1897, they decided to invade the Benin Kingdom. And they came under the pretext that they killed one Captain Phillips, and they burned down the whole empire, Benin City in particular. They came in for almost 2 weeks. They were bombing the place. Everybody ran away to the villages. They went round the entire city. From house to house, they were collecting different things they saw. All our emblems, what we now call artifacts. Each family in Benin, for instance, everybody has a Korea. I mean, yes. Some of them ivory, some of them. If you go to the collections, you have almost 40 or 50 Koreas in that collection. These people gathered it. Plus all these beautiful bronze works from different families and the palace. They took all of those things, they took it to Europe to sell, to get money to pay for what they call the cost of the war. You know, when you have a war like this, they occupy you, they take things, you know, and they try and recover the cost of the war. That is how all these things they call artifacts left our land and went to Europe. And those officers that came started selling them in the art markets. When some of the Europeans saw it, they said, which kind of people could have created this type of works? This fine bronze, fine ivory, different, intricate, very detailed. You know our people, you know how we work. So this is the things they call artifacts that are all over the world. Almost 5,000 pieces in different. So many of these collectors bought them to decorate their homes, and then many of them, they give them to their museums. So in the last 100 years, these works are now in different museums all over the world. The British Museum has the largest collection, more than 1,000 pieces of things they took from Benin. Only a fraction is being displayed, the rest is in storage. Because the Germans were the biggest art dealers at that time, you had a lot of them in Germany, in different museums in Germany. About 40 years, since independence will be cried, return these things. Some of them are very significant religious importance. In fact, the British in the 50s had to return one of the regalias of the Oba Benin that was used for the coronation, I think, of Oba Kenzo or so. They've been returning some of these, but many of them either have been sold over and over again and are in different hands. So there have been this call that they should return these things that they were stolen. It doesn't belong to them. This is the origin of these artifacts.
Omo Hutete Nagiabi said Godwin Obaseki is a liar, that no artifact exists elsewhere except the palace of the Oba of Benin before the invasion of Benin in 1897. Obaseki stated that he has evidence that the artifacts were taken from people's houses in 1897, and he should present the evidence. He further stated that people are using the Albert platform to insult Benin's big house. Albert's parents have come out to disown Albert that they didn't send him for what he is doing. All the same, the stolen artifacts will be returned to where they were stolen. Obaseki's and Obiamian's houses were not burnt down during the invasion of 1897. There is something suspicious about this incident. Please sit down and listen to Hutete Nagiabi.
I greet you for taking your time. And as usual, anything we concern the palace, I will not hesitate to come and join. So, Epa, Domosa, Domo Baba, Obokian, for taking your time. And as usual, I also greet Olakoko, I greet your fans, and I also greet those who they follow you, but where they take time they watch. So cannot feel cannot feel you. It will I go book and wire fair. So in your marry now, okay, knocking away, no mooking again, no care a carry over at Godwin Obaseki, no you done. So or you might na Nado 10 or ne do beg kine bomuhunda. Then kekine muhunda kine watabe muhunda kekine ogebe muhunda or ima revena. So we are here today to debunk the lies. So that is why the part took its time, and I'm very, very happy so to come and explain it. So, and at the same time also, for those if you do not mind the birth of Midwest before Manado, before we later became a Bender State, the birth of Midwest was spearheaded outside the royal house is by his father, Onokbanototana. So he's not only a chief, but he's from a line, a lineage that have paid their dues in restoration of Benin Kingdom. We're seeing that our right was not trampled on. So that is why we refused, because of who we are, and that is what his father stood for. We will neither be with the Yorubas or the Igbo, yet to have a state or a region of our own, and that was Midwest. His father played a very big role, and he also sacrificed his ambition, let me call it, placing the interest of the Benin above his political aspiration or ambition, because to choose between the prime minister of the Midwest region or the capital, he relinquished that opportunity to be the first premier of the then Midwest state to Denis Osadebe, while for Edo, Benin City to be the capital of Midwest. That is a sacrifice that tally with the sacrifice of people like Oloboshere, people like Asoro, people like Ogbemudia, people like Ali, and so on and so forth. Because he was able to place his dream of being the first prime minister, having out a political dynasty for his lineage, but he rejected it and said, no, Edo will come first. For the capital of Midwest to go to Asaba, and for him to become the prime minister is a slap. He relinquished that title. So Ipa, once more again, I say thank you on behalf of my family. I say thank you for coming out today to come and
on behalf
stand
of
there.
my family, on behalf of the B2 dynasty, I say, we thank you for remembering the history. Even though this same Godwin Nakana tried everything he could to trample on history when he was celebrating Midwest at 30 or whatever it was. But we just thank God. We always say, we thank God. I appreciate it.
Okay, sir. So, sir, as of the topic of today, debunking the Obaseki lies, first and foremost, I would like to start with who owns the artifact. One. Secondly, where were the artifact looted? Thirdly, as they are returning it, where is the artifact supposed to go? I know where it's supposed to go. I know where the artifact was looted. I know who owns it, the same issue. But for other youth who were disfranchised out of pure history because of certain things due to the way the educational system of Nigeria is designed, so we will not blame nobody, not even the Obaseki. It is the fault of the government, and it's also the fault of we as Edo people also for not carrying the history orally as our forefathers were doing it, because that is how majority of us who are defending today, it is from hearsay what our forefathers said, and we also are able to make reference to it in the history book. That shows that our forefathers, they were right. So we made a mistake by leaving that vacuum open. But notwithstanding, as for we who know the truth, it is not the problem. It is the majority of our youth who don't really know the truth, but their ears is appealing to the big grammar coming out from the Obaseki angle, appealing to them, trying to use the economic benefit to cover a pure history, missing everything together. Is like missing Obolo and Egusi, confusing people, trying to play smart. So, sir, that is why I said it's 3 questions in one. I would like you to address and talk to Edo people, the ownership, and where was the artifact looted from, and where is the artifact supposed to reside as it's being returned back on. So thank you, sir. The floor is yours. Domo, sir.
Thank you very much, so that we have enough time to talk about so much. It is far gainsaying to ask a question. Even the ants on the ground, the birds in the air, the fishes in the sea, in the water, they all know the answers to these 3 questions. First, who owns the artifacts? I still want to use this term, artifacts. To even use the term artifacts is It's a derogation
Degrading.
of what these works stand for. They were not created for art. They are not artworks. So you cannot call them artifacts. They are spiritual works and works for records, to keep our history on record. So, well, for the purpose of those who may not readily understand the very thing we are talking about, we want to use the term artifacts. Now,
Thank you, sir.
in 1892, when the British visited Oba Ovorame Nogbasi, Ovorame, to commemorate their visit, gave them a piece of work, this artwork, and enumerated history linked to that particular work. Then in 1895, they came again. But this time, as they were going back, they were not giving any art piece. They were giving pepper, they were giving rubber, and a few other things. I think they now got home and thought that, man, look at what they gave us previously. Look at what they are giving us now. These people are rich. And the Portuguese have already written so much about Benin, Alfonso da Vero, and others. They have written so well about it. Imagine to describe Benin as a city cleaner, better managed than Lisbon in Portugal. Lisbon at that time was a force to reckon with. Portugal was among the world powers as at that time.
Once the world power.
So, yes. Then they came back in 1896, trying to force themselves into Benin. We all know their history. And they were pushed back. You cannot now. And so, in January again, 1897, they still came that they must see His Royal Majesty. Oh, not this time. Because after Igwe is Agwe. Agwe is a festival of fast and prayers for the land, for a new season, new year. And because His Majesty is fasting, you cannot see him at that time. He does not receive strangers. And even only when His Majesty is going through the Agwe festival, only very few chiefs that enter that category can see him. Now, we all know the history. We all know what happened. The next thing, they came back by February, burnt down the place. They were not interested in the pepper and any other thing that has been given to them, but the works, our spiritual works, designed as art, which they call artifacts. When they took these artifacts away, they did not take it from my father's house. They did not take it from area father's house. They did not take it from anywhere else, not even along Igun streets. It used to be Igun quarters, where these things are made. They took everything from the burnt palace. And so, now it is time to start bringing them back. What the people do not know, when Omonoba Egwai no giver Ogidigan was still Omonorowa before he became a Daiken, there was an event in the palace where he told somebody. I think that was when some of the works, about 2 objects, were returned. That these things, these works will be returned, or else they will never know peace. So a lot of people that heard that day, they took it for just another word, another statement. And High Priest Osemege Ebohon also prophesied that in his time, these works will come back. Then, while in Uselu, as a Daken Uselu, some diplomats came to visit him in Uselu. As a diplomat, as an ex-diplomat, if I may use that word, if there is anything like ex-diplomat, a diplomat is a diplomat. As a diplomat, they came to visit. He stated it again that by the grace of God and our ancestors, in his time, these things, these artifacts will be returned, or they will never have peace. That he implores, he wakes up the spirits, the elements in each of these works, artifacts, in their different places where they are forcefully kept, to start troubling the people, and they begin to return them. That is exactly what is happening today. A lot of people who listened to that statement, or for the few of us who were fortunate, highly privileged to be there, to have heard when His Majesty made that statement. A lot of people took it as another statement. In less than 2 years on the throne, they started returning. If we can remember, the first set of Ebo that returned these items with them, one of them said his house was no longer at peace, was hearing noises, movements. So he had to return this item to the very source where it was taken from, by his whether grandfather or great grandfather. So if this thing is happening, one that has stolen your cloth is returning it. Should he not return it to the very place he stole it from? Should he not return it to the museum in a Ring Road? So for Godwin Obaseki, most unfortunate that he has now made everybody to be, through him, insulting the family. The Obaseki family is a noble family. So I feel pained when, because of one ineffectual buffoon, one Nerere Magba Agege, we now get people to be insulting the entire family. A family that has produced nobles, great men and women. Too unfortunate. I heard that one where he has all the documents. You have the documents, you are not presenting it to us in Edo State, where you ruled as governor for 8 years. You are going to London, to Manchester, to Newcastle to be presenting it to people who never knew you. So that scumbag called Albert, that are also giving space for people to be insulting his parents. Not knowing what Albert is doing. Edowe obime ukiana egi alegbewe di oja gume egi alegbewe tiebo gume. But these ineffectual bofu, these scumbags of elements, for a parent to come out and deny a child, So it's very unfortunate. So all these items will be returned. I'm not using should be returned. I'm saying will be returned and must be returned to the very spot they were stolen from, the palace of the Oba of Benin.
Thank you,
From
sir.
Iwebu.
Thank you, sir.
From Iwebu.
For you to, brother, you are going to continue. The floor is yours, sir, for you to continue. I would like
Thank
you
you.
also, because he said he has the evidence. And it is historical fact that his own father's house was not burned down. Is it not right for us to ask him to give us any historical artifact that he still has? Because if such beautiful artifact can be looted from the house of a lot of people, according to him, said from Benin people, commoners and all, according to him. So his father, who was as at then prominent due to the upliftment from our royal house, Oba Vurame. So they must have artifacts that will also resemble or like our Hokonamure in Okboru. So I would like you to touch on it, because he said that the artifact was looted from different places, from individual, not only the palace. So, like I said before, is it not wise for him to use his own father remaining artifact that was not touched as an example? One. And secondly, how come his own father house was not touched? That is second. The third, the third one also. How come also in all these issues, he said he has the evidence, he has the document. Where did he get his document from? Is it from his great grandfather handed over to him, or from the British archive? So thank you, sir.
The Esaman will say, Mesa Banyanagma. He said, Tigbagmame. You see, history was going to play back, but Oba Ewaye has applied wisdom to quell, to nip that repeat of history in a bud. Two major houses were not burnt in 1897. The house of Obaseki and the house of Ogiame. That is evidence of proof
Of a betrayal.
that they were the betrayers, the traitors, the Udiano Rakara. And again today, these two people have their represent, and they are the Uhundan within the family. The Obaseki family is not for this. The Ogiame of Benin is not for this. So they've now got people, snitches in these families, to be doing this. We have a lot of Benin people who have entered that Obaseki house.
Yes, sir.
And we know that there are no works of art there. If they have now, they are just placed there. Thank God the Oibo man can get the date of when those things were made. They have the materials. It is the blood of betrayal that made those two houses not to be burnt. That's very close to the palace, very close to Ogbe. In one of my poems, I said, "A two not way bugbine or Yogbe himwe. We nana mie we Ogbe ni gbegbe no mono bama ya igui ehiana himpono nyagai."
Meaning in English, sir. Explain.
The cannon that was shot in Ugbine burned Ogbe to ashes. Ogbe, that is the blanket that the Oba uses in covering his body, now turned to rags. It's my poem, a poem I wrote in 1986. So it is a pity, actually, that these two families, they are still involved in what is happening to them. Or let me not say the families, these two names are still involved in what has come up. Every work of arts, those spiritual works that we are taking, were taken from the palace. Pictorial evidence. Pictorial evidence. Show it is everywhere. We have never seen any picture of where the white men who stole these things stood by Ukure, or everything they took from any other place. Not even in Iduigun, Besama, where these things are made. No. We saw Iwebo, Iwegwa, Oderie, Urerie, and those places. Not anywhere else. So the evidence he had, he should bring them to the Edo State House of Assembly probe committee. Let him come and tell us. Let him come and show us. And those, I don't want to use certain words because of your page. Abu Dani ni lelekia ni pegogo lele ni afie goge mieteme. No emu bi o ma esun e obi o wana gbon e mi o ma emu bi emi.
Thank you, sir.
O ma emi e kere e ame ya la uko na mafia e derite mu orivun. Ato ya gbene ugbemu agbako e. Ekiribodo eye hiakia.
And we have war.
Eni me Godwin Obaseki. We no pon mu ta pon me here. We iye magareba egena ya gbe omori ya ni ubi. Oga we mi ogebo.
Okay.
Ebe police ya debi. Ime abati inya ni ke. Wala ho. Ma we boale meet and greet. Magwale meet and greet. We do. Choose the location. Magwale meet and greet in Benin.
Okay.
Nda Edonu we na gbipe zebo carry oba. Na o keke ni we meet and greet ma. We ma meet and greet yan we akoko Edo. Ekenu na te ya also so kenu na to ya me o ma ne gie ma keke ona ya megie yiwani. Le ma ne kuemu. Awe a judge not judge a case. Ana muketi ni ga appeal. Appeal na do ka we judge ni o ma wu ehwe no ne judge ni. Ana mukesi from high court. Ana mu ari appeal court. Appeal court na ka we the case when ya gwe a high court o magba oni no we emi teme or one judge ni the high court. Godwin.
So, Babao, come on, sir. Another question for you. Very important point you make, Iban. We all know where AY the first no Girigan make a lot of prophecy. One that is so vividly that people can remember. If you do only Oge Ikoka. And about the invasion of Benin, AY no Girigan no cow, or we make a prophecy with you. About returning of getting back our glory, or we make a prophecy yo. Where I'm going to, we all know how truthful, how our ancestors and our creator used Epa Ebohon to speak for us as one of the last prophets, indigenous one. Yeah, a lot of people might say, what is this man saying? That is left for you. So we all know that Ebohon was our last prophet that we can still say, yes, with moral qualities, truthfulness, and patriotism, having it for his own people. He made a prophecy concerning this artifact, the return of it. So, sir, please kindly touch on the spiritual aspect of it. Because you also said that due to the skillfulness and the wisdom, because our father is a god. Oba Avorame was also a god, but it was already determined by destiny that that event will take place. That is why it take place. So our God-given king now on earth, Egoge Odoyare, and we prophesy where I review. So sir, touch on it so that people might be able to see the link up, because when they were sitting down, he said this was like a betrayal of 1897. And a lot of people did not see prophecy manifesting in their present. They never saw it. Not that
Yeah.
they were blind to
Was-
it, but because they were not informed of the issue. So, sir, link these things together so that people will understand what is really taking place. That as physical, so is also the spiritual aspect of it, and the two of them are in line together. Come on.
Now let us go a little spiritual and mystical.
Thank you, sir.
The spirituality of the Edo man is unparalleled. Oba Ewaye the first reincarnated into Ovorame Nogbaisi because of how it happened in the first incarnation. When he came back, he was betrayed. And he has now reincarnated in Ewaye the second. So there, let us draw the dots. Ewaye, Ovorame, Ewaye. It's the same one and the same person. Now, what is the spirituality in these names? First of all, Ewaye, Ehia Wowa. Why? Ovorame Nogbaisi, the early morning sun that touches on all areas of the earth. If at that time he saw himself as the early morning sun that touches all the angles of the earth, in our small Benin kingdom empire, how is he going to make it? Because, but this destiny does not change, destiny does not fail. No matter how much you pressure it, Ovorame is actually Ovunwie Nogbaisi, the early morning sun that rises and touches all the corners of the earth. His destiny already said he was going to put Benin as a kingdom, an empire on the world map. But how could that have been achieved if the British thieves did not ingloriously invade the kingdom and took away precious elements? And these elements, representing the early morning sun of the Benin Empire, was now taken to all the corners of the world. So that name, the spiritual and prophetic meaning of that name was achieved. It was like when it's a Bible, where Jesus, with all the powers, with all the elements in him, with everything, he could be betrayed, and he didn't know. He knew, but to fulfill the prophecy, he had to let it be. So for that name to be achieved, and then when he refused to return from Calabar to Benin, he was not held in captivity for up to 3 years, but he refused because of the betrayal of love and trust. He refused to come back because of the betrayal of love and trust of the people, of his chiefs, of his closest friend, knowing that they grew up together.
That is Ago. We are talking about Ago.
Exactly. The mother of Uswanlele, the second son of Oba Ovorame, was the daughter of Ugbedoyo.
Okay.
Ugbedoyo is the father of Obaseki. The father of Egobami. He's the father of Ekwase Sonyemuwa. So one of the daughters, that was how close they were. And there was nothing Ovorame would not tell Obaseki. The title Obaseki was actually a title in Iwegwe. Iwegwe is the closest to the Oba of Benin. For a title to be in Iwegwe, it means you have a spiritual and love proximity to the Oba. And you must not be seen or heard to betray the Oba. But I would not Baseki betrayed that trust, betrayed that love for inglorious ambition. And so His Majesty Ovorame refused to come back. When the son, the crown prince, Oko Agwabasimi, would go, Babagade. No. That was why the young man could not become the Oba almost immediately. He had to wait until his time, when his own son would rise. Before then, Obaseki was building what they now call Ogbe. He built
Sorry,
it
sir.
like a palace.
Sorry, sir. Was the house formerly there before the European invasion? I mean, the Obaseki palace that he built before, they wanted to use for the palace. Was that location his own domain before the British invasion?
That particular location was his house. Behind that place was, behind that very house, the Obaseki was his father's house.
Okay.
That is the one that was not touched. That's the one that was not touched by the British fire.
Every other houses around the area was burned down.
Yes, it's Ogbe now. So that is it now expanded it. Expanded.
Sir, for the listeners, how there must be a sign or a way for him to show his house to the British, or for the British to recognize his house, not to touch it, because these were soldiers who were not familiar. Because an invasion, you must, according to military tactics, you must give a sign or something for them to recognize this house is not supposed to be touched. Because how would they know?
When they were coming in 1895, 1896, 1897, they were also, the British and Obaseki were holding meetings in that house because of trust and love. It was he, the Omonoba Ovorame Nogbaisi, empowered, authorized, to
represent the kingdom,
to represent the palace, holding court with the white men. There was no way they would be seeing the Oba every day. So he was in charge of trade and commerce. He was the minister of trade and commerce. Okay. And that is why the title Obaseki Denyaki. So when he now built it, he now renovated it, expanded it, they saw that he was building it like a palace with Ura. They reported the matter to Omonoba in Calabar. He only smiled. Oba Temina Bagie. He only smiled and said, just like that, with a wave of the hand, that place was going to be a market square.
And did that prophecy manifest, sir?
What is it till today? What
and that prophecy come to pass, and it manifested.
Definitely, it manifested. So that is why that place remains a market. The places they built to be Uga are now parking store for Igbo. It's as simple as that. So we will appreciate Godwin Obaseki. Funnily, his father, Uncle Roland, is one of the best Obasekis that have come up in this life. Roland, one of the best of the Obasekis, sired such kind of child. So it's most unfortunate that Omesi or Biomadan, Godwin, we will appreciate. No lao, we are begging. We are begging. So righteously, we are begging. No lao. Please show us your evidence. If you cannot come right now, Godwin here, I'm evidence. Any social media, Abat has not posted it. Something is wrong somewhere.
Okay,
They
sir.
should post it.
Another question for you, sir, for the audience,
Yes.
because the people are sending it to me.
Okay.
That I know, you know, Olakoko know, due to the family also, they have been loyal also to the palace. But for the others who did not know my and the Obaseki media spokesman, the self-appointed media spokesman said, Ago did not betray the kingdom. The video are there, authorized by Obaseki, that he did not betray the kingdom. That what he tried to do for the benefit of the kingdom is what Obaseki is trying to do now. That an Obaseki is the reincarnation of Ago. Mhm. So, and he did not betray. So, I would like you to, since they have been very, very forthcoming. The only place I saw truth in them is testifying that Godwin is the reincarnation of Ago. That is a historical fact. So, I believe that. So, sir, the question is that he did not betray. Ago then did not betray, did not try to make himself king. For audience, for the listener, Edo people who don't know this history, who are still saying, no, Ogoma betray, Oga Agwe Bogwan Ebuka planning, no Bastekiga Ron, we are trying to So it's two story. As an historical man and a man who is armed with the truth. So please, through light and enlighten our Edo people for them to have a full view about what happened, about Obaseki trying to crown himself and make himself king. Thomas, thank you.
I wouldn't blame those hirelings who come up with such narrative. I wouldn't blame them. Either they don't know, they don't understand, or they are members of the Obaseki family, and so they need to defend their ancestors. Aru Nori Obaseki was betrayed the trust and the love reposed in him by His Royal Majesty Omonoba Neduko Akpolokpolo Oba Ovorame Nogbaisi. The history is there and plain. Let us assume, not accepting by me, that actually he did not, he was trying to make things right and well. Why did he build that market and called it a palace? Why did he bear witness against the Oba in the white man's court?
Oh,
Eh?
I said, oh, go ahead, sir.
He bore witness against the Oba in the white man's court. Who took the white men to where His Majesty was hidden in the palace of Ezomo?
Who did that? Ago did that.
Yes. Also asking them, who took the white men to Eko to fish out Ologbose, who single-handedly with his army fought the British between 1897 and 1899 for 2 whole years until he was betrayed. What are we saying? I cannot ask them now, the children who do not know anything. to come and swear. Just take a pinch of sand from the ground, ulakpa, and put it in your tongue and repeat that Ago did not betray Ovorame. Then just take a pinch of ulakpa on the tongue and repeat that statement and see who lives in 5 days. They have the right to try to play defense for their ancestor. We won't go against that, but please do not bend history. Do not bend history on your power. He did everything he could for a friend. Let them tell us in 17 years, 17 or 14, in Calabar.
17.
Yes. How many times did Obaseki, being the closest person to Omo at that time, how many times did he visit His Majesty in Calabar? Let them also tell us what now caused the great fight between Ezomo and Obaseki. It was the Ezomo of Benin and Obaseki that planned and took the Ovorame inside the Ezomo palace where people, ordinary people, will not enter. And they kept him there. Who else was in that private meeting? Only for him. Yes, only for Ezomo relaxing in the comfort of his house. Obaseki came in with the white men to say, Benin, these people, they are planning to burn down the entire city if we do not bring out His Majesty. So let us just hand him over to them. If he kept saying he didn't know where the Oba was, the city, if burnt in 1897, would it not still have been rebuilt by now? Was it not rebuilt after all that?
Was rebuilt.
So what is the trick, the tactics of saying so that they will not burn down the entire kingdom? They will not burn down the entire kingdom. Let us give him out. And Ezomo was gagged, Agboku Yoakon, to lead them to where the Oba was kept. And he was flogged. He was flogged by the white man, beaten. That's my ancestral father. He was flogged. Because before then, they were even asked, who amongst you knows where he is? Amami Notari. And I was so, you knew at that time and you refused to talk. He was sick that he could not even attend the court sessions from the beating he got. When Uso Obayuwana, they stood up, Uso told Obaseki that you, just like Julius Caesar and Brutus, and you, Brutus, you and slit his throat. I cannot be part of this betrayal.
He decided to commit suicide.
Oh yes. So that singular act created the fear in the white man that if this man is not removed from this land, it was the same Obaseki that suggested it. If this man is not removed from here, like you did Jaja for Pobo, like you did the other, these people will one day clamp you and kill all of you. That was the reason, September 15, 1897, they had to march him out. It's very unfortunate. Why are they saying where he was not betrayed? Agbera wanted to, but history should be said as it is, without fear or favor. According to my father, or do right, fear none. Do right, fear none. If you know you are saying the truth, no matter who is going to be angry, say it and get out of that place. If they can kill you, let them kill you now. They can only kill the body. They cannot kill the spirit. They cannot kill the soul. So they must not come up with such narrative. They cannot, they should not, they must not come up with such narrative that it was not a betrayal. What are they saying? The history is there. The problem with our people, that is why the white man said, if you want to hide something from the black man, put it inside a book. Because we don't read, not just reading. We don't investigate issues. We don't research.
The next question, so that Nuge Miamia, did Obaseki tried and paid or bribed the British to crown him and make him the king in Benin?
Why you they say, please do not say it.
That,
Okay. Well,
what Bizube a comment, Olakoko. So Epa, that the Obaseki tried to pay or bribe or solicit, which one way or the other, to crown himself, to make the British allow him to be the king, that resulted in my great grandfather, Ero.
If he didn't indulge the white man, why did Ero
Chief
now
Ero, my
fight him?
great grandfather. Yeah.
Yes. Is that beginning of Ero? Why did he now fight him? What was the why did Ero now come up with Yoba? He indulged the white man. The white man came up with it where we will now have a Republican government. And then it was Chief Ero Olorubi that came out to say, our war. It cannot happen in his lifetime. Orioba. We will wait and keep soliciting and keep begging for the Oba to return. Every time, like every month or whatever, they'll be sending emissaries to the Oba to come home. He refused.
And is it true that Obaseki sent his son as a spy with Oba Ovurame to be informing him about the activities, about the state and welfare and planning about Oba Ovurame? Sir.
That's, we don't have outright in history. It is only assumed. It is only assumed that such a thing happened. But we cannot just say if it actually happened, because we don't have it in history that either Obaseki himself or any of his sons went to Calabar. No. They never paid him a visit, courtesy or whatever. No. Never.
And can you also touch light after the crowning of Agobasimi, Eweka II? Can you please, because Ago was still alive, please talk to the Edo how Obaseki, with all his maneuver, lying to the British, sometimes where our Oba was, sometimes, I don't want to use the word suspended, push to the eastern side in around Asaba. A lot of things, creating another organization to diminish the Oba power and influence. So please, let the Edo, a lot of...
for so many years, so many years, the first years of Eweka Giva, there was turbulence. They troubled him. They troubled him. Was it not this same Obaseki that tuned Uswanlele? Uswanlele is the second son of Uvura, to try and fight Agobasemi for the throne. What are we talking about? They did so much. He did more than enough. So, in as much as we are not trying to pull down the noble name of the family, the nobility of the family, let us put history in proper perspective. It will do all of us a word of good. Yeah, history may look insulting. History may look or may sound embarrassing today, but it will afford us opportunity of change. It will afford us the opportunity of change so that we do not repeat the bad side of history. If the people had known the real history, Benin people would have been out against Godwin from the very beginning. Bene okoni woman ka igazuwa. Geri oboyo afian wa. Kenu ari oboyi na Godwin. Kenu ari oboyi na Godwin. Afian. Very unfortunate. So why Koge, this battery is gone down. Era bat. Ama we me down. Era ma we me down. Ije ma we me down. Wa we le yan be kaladin asin. Bege so ka we na bat je na. Yan ma gie. Na bat o tin ne kere de yan bi tin yen ma. The smart. Ani be kagwan. Oh, yeah, what you be able to? Although I just smart to be able to a double chip. My own any wala. Yeah, my dear, era vi la diane, nya sto la jari to ko media. Era na kawe, oko, aba, ugbera gbiri, e bobo kan adi. Aziwe, kini wuri na, ni na fi pe die boy. Ama die kini wuri na o. Iye tu abie den na bio. O man ya wo be bio wo. No aya ju hu ye zese je eminu hu wo dai. The man has come out and said that. So egwae osanukumanya obama osanukumanya
Or the very papa.
nekwe ewu
Okay, I mean, ekwe.
ọmọ no ba ke ime ọmọ ugbegbeso na ya ga rie mi no rije keken no ma get doing. Oh, wa be ge egwe okay kian wa ya tie ire amu enu we adamu ene dija dona ozi awe na muera muere so kwa egwama ihe wee onyi mebiri o ede na agwa mi we origi odun ne oye eja I bet me igi odun ni kede se so pa nina e wo mai so na you say ane
All right. Now you take it like 2 course. Okay, c'est pas. And c'est qui aucun pas dans les lèvres. Ya kana. Et maintenant si n'avait des deux unions no rally riani ni en ladien. Et so on veut pas bonner les c'est qui aucun pas wa bi nu yo sa.
Avec akate ni ya ni sin
Ewani Obukoko Baba, Oyano, Ewani Obukoko, Oyano.
isi agbada wo nu tai imasa me yunu isi agbada wo nu tai we Godwin or any evidence to show and prove where any art item, any of those items were removed from any other place, even if it fell on the street, any other place other than the palace. We not do the my man. The Obaseki house, Amakwe Lao, Ogiami house, Amalao, Idun Gun, Nana Dunwe, Amalao. The only place they went to was the palace and burnt it down. How many people could, even at that time, have OTV doing gun na sinye yama? How many chiefs? Not to talk of ordinary people. No, na me such art items go wa or total or when na sinye yama or you can do gyopa na do say yama. How many people could do it? Yeah, with this bronze thing, yeah, I call it I might with a boy. So he has but will not dolotai where Emi ya fe na vio egwa mono ba ne doku apolo oba ovora me no gbaisi Wukpo 1897 ana viole. Ni ari gien. E ari gien eno mudia ne luga hia fe ana sile hia la dia. E foto paga aro no me ne bona mudia yo dawo wera. Ne bona mudia yo dawo wera tion e. Ero
Ogiri me.
Ena we a viole. Eno viole la dia. Eno viole la dia. I will meet and greet here with Manchester. We meet and greet and show us the facts and evidence in Benin. Olori Buruku, Oniranu.
Pao, because you mentioned the Igun. The Igun, as at then, they were having its Igun guild, royal guild. It's like the Ministry of Art and Culture. And were they responsible to the Oba? Or it was a general, Eniagao, as at then was general, or were they employed for royalty alone, sir? Touch on this, Domosa.
Igun was responsible for those broadcasts. Direct to the Oba. Oh, any way for selling now. Everything is a guild under Iwebo. Because Iwebo is in charge of festivals. So when you're being just as in China, in the old China, when the emperor is celebrating a festival, no one draw it or draw. Orima, Igbesame wa carve. Igwen wa cast. Igwen maton. Ono Igungboha. No we can. Then Isekokin. All these are guilds. They are
after finishing the work, was it told publicly and so given to the royal or everything to the royal house?
To the royal house. Direct to Iwebo.
So if this guild, Ministry of Works and Art and Culture, what with the way Maya define it now, were directly, all their works were directly for the royal house and the court of our Oba. So tell me, where will the Edo have any other artifact that were looted according to the Obaseki? So where is this artifact coming from?
There is no way. It was not possible. It was much after that time, when even the time of Oba Akenzwa that deregulated all these things. And I don't hear where, yes, and I do open the and I do open the people cannot go to the guilds. Lahore, the one, at that time, you cannot just, what are you doing gun with in any gun, Akenu wani gun, no, or Arigbesama. Very prominent chiefs, very, very prominent nobles. When I have Ezomo Olia Ero, I have certainly carve the main door.
Only door.
Carve the main door. Yes. Those carved doors. It tells a story concerning the family. If you want to enter, yes. If you want to enter the palace of Ero now, you will see the story of Benikpe carved on the door.
That's true.
If you want to enter the palace of Ezomo, you will see the story of Adesuwa carved on the door. In the palace of Ero, you will see the Ogele Muru issue.
Of a Kaladira.
Yes. Those were the ones. Much later, when people were now getting wealthy, people like my father when he was here, Esama now Benin no Esama so no gba no ye do to me by dey gbera me. You know, such prominent chiefs, the late Esoban of Benin, such prominent where people were now coming into wealth and affluence. Then it was strictly working as a guild in the palace. As a guild in the palace and nothing else.
So, sir,
Yeah.
Now because according to the same Obaseki, the professional liar,
Yeah.
away all these looted assets, they are Ukure artifacts. Because from the way he was talking, only a fool is even better. Only a betrayer, because if a fool know better, a fool will do the needful. But a betrayer knows what he's doing or what she's doing before he decides to betray. So those people listening to him, those are the ones that will fall on that trick. He said Uhure and artifact, because I know he does not even know the difference between Uhure and artifact. He said all these items we are a lot of our looted from our shrine, they call it Uhure. So sir, for the Edo people who does not know the difference between all these religious spiritual items that the European now call artifacts, and also our Ukure. So, sir, touch and enlighten Edo people the difference between those two things. Domosa.
In the first place, Ukure. Ukure is not an artwork. It's a spiritual item. It works mainly on two reasons. First, to keep records of the lineage of that particular family. And secondly, as a medium of communication with the past, the ancestors of that family. Ukure may be seen as just a stick, but it is much more than a stick. Ukure is a medium of communication. We have to talk to our ancestors. It is through this ukure, what you call stick. And then again, it is through this ukure we count how many have come in that palace, in that family. When you enter certain chieftain families like Ero, Olia, Ezomo, you will see the Awera beautiful with Ukure. I know that in the Ezomo family, we have as much as from the time of Ehenwa to the immediate past, we have at least 13 to 15. The same thing with Ero. Enter the palace, you will see it's beautiful. It's just as you enter, it's beautiful. It's locked there. I got there because of Abi Biakana even Mena. That it keeps the records. In the Ezomo family, you say Ehenwa, Odia, Ekeneza, Osifo, like that, we'll be counting them down. The same thing with all these big families. So that is one of the. Then the second one is Awinawira. Such from Omanomokure, go to the Ukure, go to the Awira. We have seen situations where Ukure vibrates, react. So then, like I'm making examples now from the Ezomo lineage because that is the one I can just tell you of heart. Artworks who have nowadays, you say this is Ezomo Aweriagon, either carved or cast, carved in wood, carved in ivory, or cast in bronze. This is Ezomo Osifo. This is so we have an idea of what it looked like before people now started using cement to mold. Cement was not part of our molding. Those that were using a kemba ulapa to mold is a the wax after molding in that red earth sand, they wax it and then put the so so that when they now heat it, the wax oil melts out and form what we want. So you understand it. You know, all this is to keep one, keep record. Two, keep